I will be asking my friend from the Instagram page panspandasawareness some questions about their experiences. Please remember that we are not medical professionals, so this is not medical advice. This is to be used for educational purposes only. This was originally made in video format, but the audio did not sync with the video, so my friend from the Pans Pandas Awareness Instagram page had the idea to turn it into a podcast sort of thing with an image in the background, so that is what we are doing. We hope you enjoy. What is one thing you wish everyone knew about pandas and patterns?
I think that because, well, most people, first of all, don't even know about it, but secondly, that a lot of people then just think that PANS and PANDAS is caused by strep, but it actually can be caused by any other infections as well. So like they're now also thinking that some kids COVID is triggering it. So yeah, I think that's something people should know, and also that we have no control over it. Like we have no control over what our brain, our body is doing with this, how it's dealing with this infection. So yeah,
definitely, that's a really good answer. So the next one is, what have you found to be the most difficult symptom that you have experienced?
Well, my symptoms have changed over time, but out of all of the symptoms that I've had or have, I think something that I've had, I think from the beginning on, is the anger rage. And I would say that is the most difficult for me, even though when I had hallucinations for like a short time, even though that was scary, I would say the anger rage, because like you kind of just scare yourself, because you just like, yeah, you just get quite like, I don't know, you freak yourself out, and then afterwards, once you finally calm down, you just then also, it's kind of like an after effect where you just feel really sad about it. So from being really angry. So I think that's quite hard, because like you can be super happy 1 second and the next something sets you off and you're in an anger rage. And I think that's quite hard to deal with.
Definitely. Like the thing you said afterwards about feeling sad after, I feel like a lot of people get quite remorseful afterwards, because we kind of forget that we really don't have any control over it, so it isn't really us doing it. But
yeah, because we also a lot of the time kind of don't cut ourselves some slack. Because I'm always quite hard on myself, even though I know I'm in control, so I just try and tell myself, treat yourself like you would treat a friend, because to a friend you're going to be a lot nicer than. So yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a good way to think about it, like having self-compassion and talk to yourself as if you talk to a friend. I think that's really good, but it's difficult still, like, but it's a really good thing to like try and develop, I think. But yes, the next question is, how does it feel to go and have Ivig?
Well, I had about 5 or 6 Ivig treatments so far, and the first 3 I responded to very well, but that was whilst I was still on steroids, so that meant I was already like on steroids for 6 months. But then after my 3rd Ivig, we were coming down, and then from the steroids, because I had been on it for quite a long time, and then every Ivig, because I was doing it every 4 weeks, it was kind of for me getting less and less effective. So now January was the last one, because also because my OCD and the flare I was flaring up more and more.
Yeah,
it was actually doing more harm than good. But yeah, at first we saw with the first 2 Ivigs, we saw huge improvements, and then but that was whilst I was still on the steroids. But yeah, as you can see, my body kind of always changes its response to things, which also happens to a lot of lot of people, a lot of kids and stuff. But I do think because a lot of kids, IVIG does work and has a good effect. So I would definitely recommend it if you're able to get it. But yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Finish that. That must be really frustrating to have treatments work, and then the more you have to have it.
Yeah.
You know, does that bother you? Does that worry you?
Yeah, because I just also get worried. What if at some point we've tried everything and my body keeps on doing this? What am I going to do then? Like, what if there's like no medication kind of thing? But I have very good doctors, and they just reassure me that we won't stop until I'm healthy. They won't give up. And I guess I just have to have some faith and hope. And yeah, because otherwise every time that I stop reacting to something or it suddenly makes me worse, it's hard, because it's going to be a long journey, and for everyone it is, and you just have to stay positive and everything. So even though like little successes like a treatment working, I get like overexcited and I think, oh, this is it, and then I'm wrong. So I just have to kind of try and not worry too much about it and just accept the way things are.
Yeah, that's a really wise response, and that's amazing that you have a team of doctors who are working to get you better. That's amazing, and I think you will find something that makes things easier for you. I really, really hope. And it is confusing though, because so many different things work for different people. I know you made like a little video about that on your Instagram. How everyone is so different. But yes, I really hope that you do find something that can stabilize your symptoms and help you.
Yeah, but I mean, I do have really good group of doctors, but I'm one of like less than 1% of the people who can actually afford this, which is also why it needs to change, because although I have a good group of doctors, it's still going to take a long time for me. But I can't I can imagine what it's like for people who don't really have that and have the doctors that are treating them who don't actually believe in it. But it just it's, no matter what, it's hard. But if you have no support whatsoever, it's going to be even harder.
Definitely. Spinach. I feel like for some people it can sort of put them under a lot of financial strain trying to get the treatment, and some people can't access it. So that's definitely a big thing to point out. People who are watching this, it can be really difficult for people to get the care that they need. So that is definitely something I agree that needs to change. But yes, the next question I put down is, from what you know about OCD and your experiences, do you think there are any major differences between classic OCD and PANDAS related OCD?
Well, either way, it's quite a battle and it can affect your life immensely. But what I would definitely say is a big difference is, I've been in a flare for quite a while, just the intensity fluctuating, but the less of a flare that I'm in, or years ago when I wasn't in a flare, is if it's more classical OCD, I'm able to control it more or work on it. But when I'm in a flare, I have no control and I can't fight it or try and work on it. It'll just take even more energy away from me. So I would say that's a big difference.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and it leads on to the next question I wrote down. So what sort of response have you had to the OCD therapy like CBT/ERP or other OCD related treatments such as SSRIs? And would you say, you kind of did say already, but would you say it's generally different for people with PANDAS?
I think it can help people, these kind of therapies, but only depending on how far or how intense your flare is. If you're in like not flaring right that moment, because even when you're not in the flare, some of the learned behaviors are still going to be there. And then I think it can be very effective. Or if you're like flaring but mildly, it can still be useful. But when you're in like a full-on flare, it can actually make it a lot worse, because you already have those OCDs and everything like in your head and things going on like 24/7 or like most of the time. So then if you're then also seeing someone and you spend a whole hour once or twice a week just talking about your OCDs, it will probably make it even worse. But that doesn't mean it won't work, but it's just depending on your flare and stuff. And everybody's different. Some people it'll work and some not. Like
I think that's a really good thing to point out. Like, everyone is very, very different. With PANDAS, there isn't a one size fits all, so it's definitely different for everyone. Like, because for me, I would say that CBT ERP didn't help that much, but for some people it might. But then for me, the SSRI medication has worked a little bit, but for others it might not. So there is so much diversity. I think that's a big thing. But again, the diversity, I think, is something that can make it even more complex to diagnose and treat as well.
But because it's not straightforward.
Definitely. So what would you say is one thing that has really helped you on your journey?
I think I would just say the support of the whole PANDAS community, and just even if it's just a hello every day or something, or just hey, how are you? It helped me, because with the people who have PANDAS or know something about it or can relate, it feels it's a lot easier or more helpful to talk about it than somebody who might know about it but doesn't have it, and they don't have it themselves. Because even though they might see how somebody's doing, they don't know how it feels. And just most of the time, even though a lot of my friends, they'll have different PP symptoms, but to most things that when they ask me, like, how was your day? And I'm like, today just, I don't know, my hallucinations or my OCDs or whatever were non-stop, and things like, or little details that they can 100% relate to. So I would definitely say support and understanding, and like caring for each other. Having a community, a team, it gives you strength, because some people, your friends might have been going or are going through a similar thing, and they can say you can share your experiences and say, oh, it's actually not that bad, even though I was really scared of this treatment. So
that's like a really good thing to say as well, because I found the same thing. I made friends in the PANDAS community, and it is actually really nice to have people to talk to who have been there themselves and know exactly what it feels like, rather than like, obviously therapy can be helpful for some people, but like when you're talking to somebody who's also experienced it, it's not like something someone's read out of a textbook. It's they really do, right? So I think that is definitely something that please finish. Do you ever have any early signs of a flare before it explodes? Can you tell a flare's coming on, or is it always very sudden?
Well, it's like both. Sometimes we're kind of, I guess, lucky, and I can tell that something's coming on, but sometimes from one second to the next, it'll literally hit me. And usually when I'm in a flare, some people, a flare is usually for quite a while, and then you have these big, I guess, episodes that you could have every day, multiple ones. But my flares will usually be on for quite a long time, but there'll be episodes, and they'll usually be quite strong for like days, which is even harder when you're already in a flare. But a few times before, I did already, I don't know how to describe it, but when I knew I was struggling and I suddenly would get this like feeling, just, I don't know, it was just in my chest, even though I also have chest tightness, but like this feeling of like something that's about to explode. And I was telling my mum, and she told our doctor, and he just said, this time we're just going to wait and see. And literally a day or two after, I was in a huge flare and episode, and I kind of exploded. So then the next time, so then I was also upset because like, I told you guys, and you didn't do anything about it, which also made me go in even more of an anger rage. But now, if I could have that feeling, my mum and my doctors, they react right away. So then the intensity is less intense, even though it's still intense. Yeah. But the thing is with pandas is that it is something that happens suddenly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I spinach. I relate to what you said there as well, because I know when I was younger, it like completely exploded when I was 8. It was very out of the blue. But then my flare at 17, I felt like there was a slight warning. It was like a slight warning and then exploded. So I relate to what you said there as well. But yeah, it's really interesting. Spinach. I feel like PANDAS is known for being sudden, although some cases aren't. But I think the most sort of hallmark PANDAS trait is if it's sudden onset OCD, it's worth, or sudden onset something related to that, like food restriction, then it's worth looking into PANDAS.
Yeah, and sometimes I think it's even though it might not be sudden, sometimes it's hard to know to listen or to which signs you should listen to or when to react, because sometimes even if somebody's struggling doesn't mean they're going in a flare, you know.
Yeah.
Because we sometimes we have better days without being in a flare. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good thing to say. What sort of thing would you say to a child that has just been diagnosed with PANDAS and PANS? Would you give any advice or anything?
I think I would say, you know, it's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy, but like you will be able to do it because you're stronger than you think you are. Like even when you think you can't go anymore, and you will get through it, even though there are times where you just don't even know what to do with yourself. But you've already come so far just because of the fact that you've been diagnosed. Because children sometimes go years and years until they get diagnosed. But that's only if they get diagnosed. Some kids never get diagnosed.
Oh yes, here we go. What would you say is the most frustrating thing about PANDAS and PANS?
I think my answer is always basically the same, that you just have like no control and over it at all. And also what's even harder is just that the illness itself is so hard as well, but what's even harder is that the research isn't as advanced as it could be if there was more awareness and more people I guess choosing to do research about it, which because if just a few more doctors maybe each year would start treating it and learning about it, it would make a huge difference. Because also many people are then on the waiting list, which is so long because there are only few doctors everywhere. And I think that's even harder because, the more doctors you have that treat it, the more help you can get, because they might have different views on it and ways or approaches to treat it. So, I think there's a lot of things that are frustrating about PANDAS, so it's quite hard to just pick one thing.
Yeah, I definitely really agree with the research thing. More research, I think, is really important because, you know, a lot of I feel like in the medical sector, they're like, wait for the evidence, wait for the research so we can treat it. But people are suffering now, you know, and people need care now. So, you know, hopefully in the coming years.
It's kind of like also with the COVID, people were suffering, and you can see how they can do it. Like, one can do it, because with the COVID, they were able to react fast. I mean, yeah, obviously COVID is also quite a big and important thing because it was killing a lot of people. But this also shows that it doesn't mean we want answers this quickly, but it shows things are possible, and yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Woo, spinach. So I do really hope, like, in the coming years, more doctors research pandas and pans, so that more scientists as well research pandas and pans, so that more doctors can treat it, and waiting lists, as you said, would be shorter. And I feel like that's better because a lot of suffering could be prevented if people helped earlier on as well. But yes,
I definitely agree.
Yeah, I believe this is the last question. So, would you like the way that pandas pans is viewed, diagnosed, or managed to be changed in any way? And if so, then how?
Well, the doctors that are treating it, I think they're doing their best they can. But I think there just needs to be more treatments, or just more options, or just more support for these doctors who treat it, and for their patients, because otherwise the rest of it, for changing how one gets treated and diagnosed isn't all managed, is more just people need to see these symptoms not as a behavioral issue, but as an illness. But that's not exactly how you treat, like, doesn't really apply to the treatment thing. But I guess just more people need to know about it, more people need to show interest, but people can only show their interest if they know about something. So we have to, I guess, spread the word. And
that's a really, really good answer. But yes, I think that is all the questions now. But thank you so much for taking the time to answer these and to do this with me. It's really lovely to see you again as well. So yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for letting me do this. Because I'm honest, like, we and many others are doing our best to help. So anything that we can do to help and improve is important.